Chapter 340, Absolute Music Part 1. 1. You will be immediately transported to the 70th floor as per your request. I was enveloped in a whirlwind without hesitation. You have entered the 70th stage. The scent of sand, heated by the sun since time immemorial, lingered at the tip of my nose. The smell of the sun. In my childhood, there was a lazy fragrance that wafted when I suddenly looked at my palm while playing in the modest playground. Fragrant loam. My body and mind, which had been heated up from the battle just moments ago, settled down. There was also a message I heard after a long time. The lady who walks the mirage blesses your ascent. Had she been watching my fight from somewhere? Imagining the lady lounging on a sofa, tearing into a bag of potato chips while watching, made me smile. You look relaxed. Even your expression is different. Another pillar stood before me. The Wand of Ages was sitting there. It's been quite a while since a challenger has appeared in the lobby I manage. The one who stood behind you, even the Sword Emperor, when he came up here, had a calm expression like you. The magician narrowed his eyebrows. No. He had an even more relaxed expression. Perhaps it's those with such demeanor who succeed in ascending. I'm curious. What kind of face did he have? He had a face that said, "Aren't you going to offer a drink to your guest?" He actually said that too. Of course, he included some quite novel swear words when he spoke, but I won't tell you those. I clicked my tongue and looked back at Bei Hurayong. Bei Hurayong showed a what look. I don't remember doing that. Of course, as soon as I entered here, I thought that this place was so shitty, thinking there wouldn't be anything to gain, almost to the point of feeling like a beggar, but anyway, I don't remember that. Of course, the Sword Emperor himself wouldn't be able to recall. The magician spoke as if he had heard Bei Hurayong's grumbling. He probably hadn't actually heard it. He just possessed the intelligence to predict things not heard by the ears as if it were natural. It's not just the Sword Emperor whose memory has been peeled away. All those who met us pillars for the first time in the tower lose their memory. Even the memory that there was just a stage auction happening is quickly fading. Yes. Death King. Except for you. The magician leaned on his long staff. The 70th floor was a white world without mountains, rivers, or plants. However, it was different from the pure white waiting room where the lady had stayed. SSSRRKK. Large and small cubes moved as if they were Rubik's cubes. Some cubes were as huge as the moon. Another cube was smaller than a fist. SSSRK. The cubes moved incessantly, like cogs in a never-ending motion. The cubes blended with the white background, then protruded out to form sharp edges, and disappeared into whiteness again. That. Just gathering for a moment before returning. The simple cycle that repeats for eternity was the celestial body and object of this world. What do you wish from me? The one who wished for oblivion was the Tower Master. The magician prodded the question that rushed from the east starting from the west. The Tower Master, Amethyst, wanted the tower to be entirely yours. At least, she wanted you to be under that illusion. The less visible the administrator's trail, the better. And yet, every time we ascend a stage, she gives us a message to bless us. The magician smirked bitterly. Selfish, isn't it? Because the Duchess can't stand not letting you know that someone is there with you. Such is the nature of a god who only wants to exist when you need him. Cubes moved slowly behind the magician. I cannot save the Tower Master. Everyone chosen as a pillar is the same. In a way, to the Tower Master, we are like the constellation killer is to you. We owe a debt. We depended on her for our lives. All we can do is just help the Tower Master. Everyone born in Zrakwa, in the same world as the Tower Master, is bound by fate. The magician looked at me. But it's different for someone from the outside. I was guessing what the magician meant. Like the Sword Emperor. Like me. Exactly. His silver eyes sank. Death King. It's not that I don't erase your memory. I can't erase it. You have earned that status and authority on your own. If you wait 1,000 years, 10,000 years, until 1,000,000 years pass and 10,000,000 years fade, someone will come to climb to the 99th floor. Eventually. Someday, the 100th floor will be broken too. However many times it takes. But, when another being will be granted a position like yours, who knows? You are a miracle. From a gap created by the lady, through a seam spun with Musha and Hishmith crits, nourished by the rain Hamustra provided, you bloomed. You caught the loophole in the spider web spun by the Tower Master. And I have no intention of waiting once more for a miracle where life blooms in the universe. I asked again. What do you wish from me? Only what you will come to wish for. That moment. The magician raised his staff and touched the void. A corner of a cube that popped out from the white background was touched by the staff. Until now, you have fought in the specialized field. The cube was dyed with color. The cube turned yellow, its angular corners worn away. No, melted away. It was as if paint was flowing out of a balloon pricked by scales. Unlike the balloon, however, the capacity of the cube was infinite. From now on, you must struggle in the non-specialized fields. The yellow paint melted down, soaking the floor. First, at the feet of the magician. Next, over my shadow. The places you haven't paid much attention to until now. And then the horizon. My feet were dyed a bright yellow. The yellow was gentler than gold and as soft as a wheat field. Being a martial constellation doesn't mean only warriors serve it. Stepping on the color of wheat grains, the magician looked down. Even a merchant who has lived a lifetime away from martial arts might get into a fight with a robber in some dark alley. A musician pursuing love might duel with a rival. Music, medicine, magic, academics, agriculture, commerce, navigation. In the yellow waves, human figures were reflected. Someone was striking the ground with a pickaxe, while another was steering a ship towards an unknown sea. Teeing. A man was plucking the strings of an instrument resembling a violin. These are the fields you must be willing to reach out to if you want to become a constellation. Well, to put it grandly. Simply put, these are non-specialized, amateur fields for you. The corners of the magician's mouth twitched like mimosa leaves. It took me a moment to realize that was a smile. So, whether you've cleared the stage or not, we naturally have to call in an expert to judge, don't we? The magician struck the floor with his staff. Whoosh! Light burst forth, and within it, a vague figure formed. It was the shape of a person. Dash dot. Perhaps he was in the middle of a meal. Someone summoned by the magician appeared in the same seated posture and crashed down with a clang, squashing his buttocks. Oh, this. The Black Dragon Master? Or the heretic questioner? It's troublesome to summon me like this without an invitation. The impressive part was how stable the landing was. Despite being summoned abruptly and falling over from an entirely unprepared action, the person immediately rolled on the floor and stood up. And then, our eyes met. Oh. Both of us knew each other all too well. What is it, Kim Gongja? Was it you who called me? I didn't know you had learned summoning magic. The polished armor shone brilliantly. As far as I knew, there was only one person in my life who went around wearing armor in everyday life. Patricia? That's right. I was worried for nothing. I thought some emergency had arisen and I was summoned in haste, so I was momentarily tense. It was indeed the Crusader. For your information, Kim Gongja, even after knowing my real name, you are the only friend who didn't make a Patrash joke. I'm not sure if it's appropriate to ask in this situation, but what is that? What, do you? You don't know Patrash? The Crusader looked shocked. Are you in your right mind? I don't see why I should be treated like this. That's serious. It's a sign of the apocalypse. Kim Gongja, what exactly do you know? For what purpose were you born? And yet, can you call yourself a representative hunter of our tower? I recommend you deeply reflect on your life. After reflecting, go watch A Dog of Flanders and cry. The reason you have tear glands is precisely for that. Okay. I'm definitely sure now that this isn't the kind of conversation we should be having right now. One thing was clear. Despite not having seen each other for a long time, the fact that we didn't ask about each other's well-being but instead questioned each other's sanity meant our relationship was 360% friendship. Why exactly 360%? Well, because it's come full circle. Death King. While Patricia and I were bewildered, the Wand of Ages spoke up. I'll tell you the quest that needs to be solved from the 70th floor. We both turned to look at the magician. Make that person your follower. From the 71st to the 79th floor. One person per stage. In total, you must recruit at least 9 followers. That is the first mission you must accomplish as a constellation. The magician moved his lips. This time, it was a clear smile. A constellation without followers does not exist. 2. The room quietened down. Indeed. I've got it. I've understood everything perfectly. In other words, it was not the humans but a ghost that was a bit noisy. Why I had people like the Sword Emperor's followers tagging along with me, I couldn't understand. If a religion that worshipped me as a god were to form, I would have been the first to storm in and smash it to bits. Hey, why would you assholes turn a perfectly alive person into a ghost for a memorial service? You are a ghost, you know. No, I'm not. I wasn't. Bei Hurayong snorted. I thought it was strange. Just because I'm too great, I assumed followers naturally gathered to worship me. TSK. Now it seems I also ran this quest as I cleared from the 70th to the 80th floors. Yes. That pillar or whatever said it, erases memories. After clearing the stages, my memories were strangely distorted. As a result, I successfully created followers and the Sword Emperor's followers came into being, but I had slickly forgotten the process itself. It sounded plausible. As the origin story of the Sword Emperor's followers was unintentionally revealed, the Wand of Ages opened its lips. Normally, from the 70th to the 80th floor are extremely difficult challenges. Unless it's a special case, hunters from the same tower as the challenger are chosen as examiners, and usually, the challenger doesn't get along with those hunters. They're hell-bent on making the challenger fail. Even the most skilled hunters usually fail here. Or they wander around for hundreds of years. But maybe, for the Death King, the story might be different. Indeed. The magician also explained the gimmick of the stage to the Crusader. Initially puzzled and tilting her head in confusion, the Crusader quickly grasped the situation. So, in short, if I worship Kim Gongja as a god, then clearing the 71st floor is simple, she deduced. The magician nodded. That's right, my child. Is there any particular condition required to serve a constellation? For example, does one need to worship sincerely, from the bottom of their heart, or offer their soul, for it to be considered as serving? No. If the Death King struggles on the 71st floor, and you acknowledge that it's enough, then that's the end of it. Good. The Crusader turned to look at me. Gongja. Yes. Take a good look at my face. Her expression was as serious as ever. My name is Patricia. The very person who will make you a god. I will gratefully acknowledge it. What is this? I don't expect anything from you. Go to the 71st floor and live as you wish. No, just breathing is fine too. If it's just breathing, anyone can succeed without fail. Don't worry. I will make you a god. Why is it that despite her expression and tone being so earnest, somehow it makes me want to poke at her heart and immediately start a petty quarrel? Even if you engage in foolish acts, I will still accept you as a god. After all, that too is a form of God. Looks like we really did become true friends, huh? The first candidate for followership was extraordinary indeed. Chapter 341, Absolute Music Part 2. Let's put the small talk aside for now. A staff intervened between the Crusader and me. Turning my head, I saw the Wand of Ages staring at me bluntly. Before you go up to the 71st floor, listen to the last explanation. Yes. Death King. The world you are about to enter is already dominated by constellations. But it's different from before. You don't need to fight the constellations at all. I tilted my head in confusion. Why? Are they good constellations? Well, to be precise, it's more like there is no means to fight them. Until now, you've only met constellations with personalities, relatively speaking, constellations that are close to human form. However, from the 71st to the 79th floor, there are constellations without personality that reign. No personality. Then, are they like objects or plants? Something like that. You could also say they are the very laws of the world itself. The important thing is that you have no way to fight those constellations. Unless you have reached the realm where you can freely use the heart sword. Not yet, anyway. The reason I specifically summoned this knight among your companions is simple. The 71st floor is, well, a world dominated by music. It's what you call a musical heaven. Oh ho. Patricia was the first to react to the word music. Then indeed, I might be the right person for this. Not to brag, but I am one of the finest musicians in our tower. My concert sold out all seats this time. An excellent selection. Patricia crossed her arms and looked at the Wand of Ages confidently. Why she looked so confident? I didn't quite understand myself. Since she started performing jazz again, Patricia had become much freer than before. Why are you bragging to me? Anyway, yes. Death King. You too will become a musician of the musical heaven and survive. Do I have to be a musician? There's no freedom of job choice. In the musical heaven, every being is a musician. Don't think that every world will be as free-spirited as your neighborhood. What a harsh world. I've learned a bit of piano from Patricia, but I'm still a complete beginner. Most hunters are like that. Outside their area of expertise, they're all amateurs. The magician looked as if wondering what the problem was. So that's why so many hunters despair in the 70-floor zone? Certainly. You have a point. Don't worry, Kim Gongja. Patricia patted my shoulder. Didn't I say? No matter how pathetic you look, I plan to stamp a pass without any conditions. Unless it's a fire painting play. It's impossible for you to move me with ordinary music anyway. Take it easy. That's oddly insulting. Hey. People should be humble about their talents. For instance, Kim Gongja. It can be said that you lack a bit in fashion talent. Your leather fetish is serious. I don't want to hear that from someone who wears armor 365 days a year. Besides, this style was chosen by Anastasia. Don't blame me. Indeed. The magician nodded deeply. You and your friend will endlessly gossip if left alone. I'll have to forcibly teleport you. Squish, the ground beneath me collapsed. The wand of ages is teleporting you. Looking down, my feet were sinking into a floor wobbling with yellow paint. Huh? What? Be gone already. I sank up to my waist in an instant. Just before my whole body was completely submerged, Patricia desperately shouted at me. Kim Gongja. Even if you lack talent in fashion, it's okay. Patricia. Because, in fact, you also lack talent in looks either. Your fashion and face are a perfect match. Let's talk after I clear the 71st floor. Have a safe journey. And then, I was swallowed up by the bottom. 3. You have entered stage 71. You have stepped into a place where you originally could not enter. A certain penalty will be given. I opened my eyes. The place seemed like a village straight out of a fairy tale, exactly what one might imagine when thinking of heaven, painted in watercolors. Utterly quiet. And deathly still. The eye living in the labyrinth manifests its authority. General information about this stage is revealed to you. It was the first time I had set foot in this world, but there was no inconvenience in gathering information. After all, Hishmith Kritz, a high-ranking constellation, had already submitted to me. Before I even took my second breath in this world, texts appeared. Plus. Musical heaven. Floor, 71st. Constellation, the maestro singing the heavens. Difficulty, BA+. Explanation, LV.1 Everything in this world operates through music. If you want to buy something, you must play music for the seller. The better the music, the higher the price, the worse the music, the lower the price. The only nutrient consumed by the residents of this world is music. Waking up to music fills them with nourishment, and not listening to music for a week leads to starvation. Currency. Food. Power. Think of everything as being made of music. Plus. Everything is made of music. This is much more convenient than before. After taking Hishmith Kritz as my subordinate, collecting information became hassle-free. Is this why constellations feared losing their powers so much? Even a newbie in the constellation realm like me is growing by leaps and bounds. Now, how should I strategize? I was plotting my route in my mind when it happened. The eye living in the labyrinth manifests its authority. Expose. Another new message arrived. This time, it was a bit different. You have not met the conditions to acquire hidden information. The eye living in the labyrinth forcibly satisfies the conditions. Hidden information is revealed. Wriggle, wriggle. The letters floating in front of me suddenly disassembled and reassembled. Moving like black worms, the characters transformed into new meanings. Plus. Musical heaven. Floor, 71st. Constellation, the maestro singing the heavens. Difficulty, BB+. Explanation LV.2 Not every hunter enjoys the fortune of living for hundreds of years. Some die. Many people die. Have you ever wondered where the souls of those who die in the tower go? This is heaven for the souls who die in the tower. The afterlife. The so-called underworld of the tower. Plus. I blinked. What? The afterlife? Astonishment sprang up, causing my tongue to stiffen. However, regardless of my shock, Hishmith continued to embroider the texts. It felt like a serpent was wrapping around my wrist, its tail flickering gently. The torrent of information did not stop. Plus. The tower contains 9 levels of the underworld, known as the 9 heavens. Humans in the tower, even in death, if they wish not to vanish but to linger somewhere, they roam the 9 heavens. Which heaven under they wander is entirely up to the hunter's last wish. This is the 71st floor. The first heaven of 9 heavens. Musical heaven. Plus. Just as the information continued to unfold, suddenly, the texts churned. Wriggle, the snake flicked its tongue. Then, it raised its head high and glared at the void. Hishmith seemed stressed at a glance. I wondered why it suddenly started to bite at the empty air, but the reason soon became clear. You have not met the conditions to acquire hidden information. The eye living in the labyrinth forcibly satisfies the conditions. The eye living in the labyrinth forcibly satisfies the conditions. I grasped the situation. Something invisible was interfering with Hishmith's power. Whether it was the system's interference or obstruction by the constellation governing this stage, I couldn't yet know. But Hishmith was not at all diminished in spirit. It even bared its teeth, threatening whatever it was. The eye living in the labyrinth forcibly satisfies the conditions. You have gained the right to view hidden information. Hidden information is revealed. Finally, the letters calmed down. Hishmith snorted, as if to say, "Who dares to block me in such a shabby manner?" Then, it flaunted, as if to boast, "Now you see, my existence is much more valuable than something like Goddess of Protection, right?" displaying the letters. Plus. Musical heaven. Floor, 71st. Constellation, the maestro singing the heavens. Difficulty, B. Explanation, LV.3 Musical heaven. A heaven for souls tired of life, weary of language, and nauseated by conversation. Now, they do not believe in the language between people. They do not attempt to approach each other, and if they do, they only approach through music. Everything that lives and breathes here possesses a soul. The lowest dandelion crossing the lowest heaven. The daffodils hanging their heads. The sticklebacks soaking their feet in the shade of rocks by the stream. Every life is merely a reincarnated soul. They have forgotten the memories of their past lives. Sometimes, perhaps always, when they dream, memories of their past lives rise like dim fog, and they swim through it. In this 9 heavens, echoing with music, the weary souls will be soothed. If they wish, forever. Plus. Indeed. I looked around. It was eerily quiet. Under the serene sky, migratory birds did not form flocks but scattered individually, each flying in the direction they desired. According to the information revealed by the eye living in the labyrinth, these too must be souls. My head throbbed. So the tower even arranged for a place after death. Reincarnations were everywhere. Flowers overlapped on both sides of the dirt road leading to the village. Chillingly white hydrangeas. Skullcap flowers sat in meditation in a row, silently chanting sutras. The tower master doesn't intend to let a single person go. Not a single one. There were many white flowers. White didn't choose seasons. The skullcap flowers folded their petals in prayer, and behind them, acacias hung their heads. The white safflowers plucked at the sky with their fingertips. Cherry trees, like grown nails, shaved off their petals and tossed them into the void. Those wishing to shed their color were erasing their past lives. But I can't hear any music. I suppressed the turmoil in my heart and thought differently. Isn't it too quiet? Since arriving on the 71st floor, I hadn't heard any sound at all. Oddly silent. Even when Hishmith Kritz had cried out earlier, only the vibration of silence had been transmitted through my wrist. Huh? Quiet? Behu Ryong tilted his head. What do you mean? It's almost too noisy for me. What? I stepped on the dirt road. Although the world was silent, where I needed to head was clear. Beyond the road, in the midst of the faintly spread village, a tree large enough to cover the sky was growing. Perhaps it could be called the world tree. Villages clung tightly to the massive trunk. It resembled layers of territorial mushrooms growing in tiers. When I enhanced my vision with aura, I could see people coming and going around a large staircase made of wood. Not just people, but animals like deer and giraffes were also freely mingling among them. Not all souls were reincarnated as plants. The birds chirping is one thing, but even the flowers are singing here. What? And if you look closely, the insects are whispering songs too. I admit, it's quite a chorus. Listening to it, it feels like my heart could be at peace. But personally, this stage isn't to my taste. Wait. Hold on. Kim Zombie, can you really not hear anything? Nothing at all? Could it be? I opened my mouth. I moved my tongue and tried to emit a high note. No sound was heard. I moved my aura to supplement my hearing. I wrapped the organs responsible for human hearing in aura again, making sure there was no gap, perfectly supplementing my hearing. Then I made a sound with my mouth. Still, no sound was heard. It wasn't that my hearing was broken, rather, it was as if my sense of hearing itself had been deleted. Damn it. I realized what the message, "a certain penalty will be given," meant, which appeared right after I landed on the 71st floor stage. Why the cries of Hishmith Kritz had sounded like to me. I can't hear any sound here at all. Clearing a world made of music without any sound. And thus, to win over the musician Patricia's heart and make her a follower. This was the penalty given to me. Chapter 342, Absolute Music Part 3. 4. It's really a stroke of luck. Behu Ryong clicked his tongue in disapproval. Imagine if you, zombie, hadn't maintained your connections usually. Think if things weren't great between you and the Crusader. Then you'd be out of this stage in no time, completely out. How could you succeed in the world of music when you can't even hear the sounds? Exactly. I trudged toward the World Tree Village. The village was incredibly beautiful. Having traveled through many worlds and seen all sorts of landscapes, the fairy tale-like scene of the tree village built around the world tree was still a mystical sight to me. I encountered a villager along the way. The villager waved and smiled at me. Despite being a stranger, I felt no hostility from them, perhaps because in this heaven, the concept of hostility towards each other seemed non-existent. The problem was that I couldn't hear a single word the person was saying. I opened my mouth to speak. Hello? The villager tilted their head in confusion. What are they saying? I tried my best to enhance my perception to observe the movements of the villager's lips, the angles at which their tongue twisted. Maybe the villager was asking, "Your voice sounds strange. Do you have any discomfort?" Probably. I emphasize probably because something about their pronunciation was odd. I'm sorry. I can't really hear well. The villager gave me a strange look, continuously tilting their head as if to say, what a weirdo, then left without saying anything. Why? Why is that? Ka. Beihurayon was the only one having a blast. I frowned deeply. What's so funny? Is it funny because I can't speak? Ha! You, who knows nothing but to swing that sword, you fiend. You might not have heard because of your condition just now. The villager who greeted you earlier, they were talking to you while singing like they were in a musical. That's why even when I tried lip reading, their pronunciation seemed strange. And you trying to talk back normally while they kept singing in soprano. Cock-ack. This stage seems worth watching. So, you're still a fiend, no change there. Forget it. I'm ignoring you. In short, this entire world was like a giant musical stage. Dandelions sang, white horses sang, and every villager I passed by in the village sang. Above all, the source of the grand chorus was the world tree. Goddess of protection admires the song of the world tree. A music box only for you acknowledges this as a magnificent sight. According to what the constellations describe to me, each leaf of the world tree hums faintly. Low pitches from the green leaves. High pitches from the white blossoms. Dozens of leaves and flowers come together to form a small harmony on one branch. Several branches come together to create a larger harmony, buzzing. Thus, as if hundreds of thousands of choirs were softly voicing out, the entire world tree sang quietly at times and magnificently at other times. Only I can't hear it. Of course, I had no means to enjoy that overwhelming fairy tale. If people talk to me, I should at least try lip reading, but I can't even hear them. What a waste. That can't be helped. What are you going to do now? Your companion said no matter what kind of spectacle you create, it'll still be considered a clear. Yes. So, I just need to do something. At that moment, the snake bracelet wriggled around my wrist. The eye living in the labyrinth informs you that in musical heaven, the only meaningful actions are those related to music. The eye living in the labyrinth advises that engaging in musical activities, whatever they may be, could provide an opportunity for the judge to pass you. Whatever it may be, music, huh? I looked around. The village in musical heaven was sloped like the moon village where I had lived. Clinging to the world tree, it became higher in altitude following the vast stairs, which also served as a plaza. People were going up and down the stair plaza. Their conversations, too, must have carried the melody of songs. However, whether it was because they found a real-time musical odd or simply because some residents disliked talking to others, instruments were installed at various points along the stairs. If any action really doesn't matter. I looked at each instrument while climbing the grand staircase. Most were instruments I had never seen before. Instruments that humans from worlds I didn't know, civilizations unknown to me, had played before they died. Would it be enough to just play one simple piece of music? Fortunately, after looking around a bit, I found a piano. The instruments had no owners. Anyone could sit down and play them. A child was playing the piano, and several younger children gathered around, clapping their hands. The child noticed me and spoke. Would you like to sit? Probably what they said. The language of the child felt to me like Spanish or French. Maybe it was a completely different foreign language. But it was clear that it wasn't an alien language but a foreign one. That child died in a tower where the piano was played and, therefore, must have lived in the same world as me. Though a soul that has forgotten its past life would not remember. This place was meant for those who wanted to discard everything from their former lives, except for instruments. Yes. Thanks for letting me have a turn. The children whispered to each other upon hearing my voice. It seems my voice really does sound strange to the people here. Raviel said she liked the sound I make. Indeed. I haven't seen Raviel for too long. I sat down at the piano bench. I will play something about longing. There was no way to tune the piano. I couldn't hear anything. Well, it's literally the heaven of music, so tuning should take care of itself. 6 children looked at me with wide eyes, sitting on the stairs. Excluding the fire painting play, this was my first concert. These kids were my first audience. I pressed the E note firmly. Sword Emperor, does it sound correctly as an E to you? How would I know? I'm a fool to have expected anything from you. It seemed the Sword Emperor had no intention of becoming my ears. Well, perhaps this stage was something I had to clear on my own. Slowly, I began to play. The children blinked. I didn't have time to read their lips while focusing on the play, but somehow, the atmosphere conveyed their reactions. Probably something like, "He plays quite well, unexpectedly."
Oh.
Not bad. It was a good response. But it didn't reach the level I wanted. It's hard without being able to adjust the tone with aura. Really. It felt like a knight who had forgotten his armor and rashly went to the battlefield. Whenever I thought a note was too soft, I used aura to amplify it, and if I wanted a note to sound more desperate, I would grasp and shake it. But now, I can't hear anything at all. Well, I've brought this upon myself. Up until now, what I played was more akin to musical martial arts than music. If you neglect basic swordsmanship and focus only on extracting aura, you'll eventually face a big setback, Bei Hurayong had said. My playing was exactly that. Like a mercenary who became all brawn and no brains due to relying too much on tricks. As the light piece came to an end, the children clapped their hands. Judging by the atmosphere, it was like the feeling of unexpectedly having a good, cost-effective lunch in a restaurant you entered without any expectations. A modest debut. I smiled bitterly. It was impressive enough to get a nod of approval for being a cost-effective restaurant from children whose tastes had been refined by the World Trees Choir all day long. You have taken an action valid in this world. The judge chosen for you has granted approval. Patricia seemed not to expect more. Watching my day's work from the 70th floor lobby, she immediately stamped her approval. You have received recognition from your judge. You can declare stage clear at any time. It was a moment when the stage of the 70th floor, known as a challenge for top hunters, was easily overcome. Goddess of Protection says the path the hero has taken has led to today's easy victory. Perhaps that's true. Combining what I've heard from various places, it's rare for top-ranked hunters to get along well. It's just rare. There might be some close relationships, but a case where ranks 1 through 10 entirely build a fortress of trust like ours might be the first. So, in ordinary cases, it would be a difficult quest. Normally, there would be a mix of sticky grudges, slimy jealousy, contempt, and indescribable emotions sedimented together. Before I made an effort, it was like that with the Black Dragon Witch and the Sword Saint. Right. Honestly, I get confused with ranks below second. Why waste my precious brain capacity on that? Who cares whether someone is third or fourth? I'm the best anyway. You're a first and last case of your kind. Would you like to declare clear? As I was about to shrug and say yes, the children clapped and shouted something. This time, I could easily decode it. It was an encore. I smiled awkwardly. Well, if it's just one more song. There was no need to rush and clear the stage right away. I had almost breached an impregnable stage in less than half a day. There was plenty of time. Rather than hurrying on, I wanted to spend more time with souls who had died in the same tower as me. Even if they didn't know why they died, at their last moment, they thought, now, if it's not music, I don't want to hear it, if it's not a song, I don't want to speak. I played again. I couldn't hear the piano sounds I was playing. I tried hard to regenerate my hearing with aura, but it seemed like soundproofing was done on a systemic level. Perhaps one of the constellations of this world had exerted some power. So, I had no way of knowing whether my performance was good or bad, or even if it was going well. By myself. As I played the piano, I watched the children's expressions. Their faces were the only clue for me. When the children closed their eyes and gently nodded their heads, swaying left and right, it meant it was a good performance. If the children blinked in confusion, that meant I hit some notes wrong. At some point, instead of chasing the sounds in my head, I found myself tapping the keys while looking at the children's gestures, gazes, and faces. The children laughed as if they found it amusing. It meant I had made a fun mistake, unknown to me, or a playful humor had passed. Seeing the children laugh, I laughed too. And in the moment I looked into the children's eyes, seeking to deliver another impressive performance, to know if I was doing well. I realized something. Right. It was a simple realization. I've always been like this. Suddenly, everything seemed to make sense. The current performance and all the things I had done before, which seemed unrelated on the surface, somehow connected in a straight line. I didn't learn swordsmanship because I was fascinated by the sword. It's because when I wielded a sword, the people around me reacted. I felt recognized and gradually started to grasp the sword more heavily. It was the same even now, playing without hearing anything. I wasn't particularly fascinated by the piano. It wasn't because I had a perfect score in my head that I wanted to replicate. Maybe some people do, but at least I didn't. I was gauging good performance and bad performance solely by the children's giggling breaths, their slightly moving eyebrows, the way their cheeks curled up at the edges of their mouths. I was just a human who had pushed this method to its limits. It doesn't matter if I can't hear the sounds. I surged aura throughout my body. This is rather a familiar method for me. I pulled up my aura, but not focusing it on myself as I did on the stage of the fire painting play. On the contrary, I enveloped the children with my aura. The children felt ticklish. It was harmless to them. I simply allowed my aura to permeate, letting the condition of their bodies be transmitted to me. Where their gazes were directed. Whether they were watching my fingers dance on the keyboard or looking around to chat with another child sitting next to them. The twitching reaction to the sounds. The children's heartbeat. The flow of their blood. The speed of their blood flow. Right. All of it reacted differently according to my performance. It was subtle, but the touch of aura was even more delicate. It wasn't just the expressions on the children's faces that provided my criteria. Everything has an expression. The issue is whether I have the means, the experience, the skill to read those expressions. I've always wanted to do this. And I had the skill to do so. Shall we try? I paid attention to when the children's gazes were fixed on my fingers as I played certain notes. I observed which sequences of notes caused the children's hearts to react most vigorously. The children couldn't hide their expressions. And they didn't. The children's whispering time grew shorter and shorter. At first, each child reacted strongly to different notes, which was challenging. But it was okay. There was an intersection. The children had a huge commonality beyond any differences. These children had once abandoned the world and wished for the same heaven. Thus, though I still couldn't hear any sound, I pressed the keys for the sounds that made all the children react most brightly. For a moment, the children's hearts resonated together. Chapter 343, Absolute Music Part 4. I could feel the children's hearts slowing down. Why is this interesting? I moved my fingers busily over the keyboard. Faster and faster. Why am I fascinated just by watching people's reactions, even when I can't hear any sound? In this world, breath was limited. The performers and the audience had already divided the total amount of breath among themselves. As my fingers sped up, the children's breathing slowed down, and as my fingers leisurely swam, the children finally let out their breath. How far? I hit the keys. Pedestrians going up and down the large staircase stopped one or two at a time. I expanded my aura. Not only the 6 children but also the young man who had just stopped, and the woman with dark circles under her eyes, I sensed the rhythm of their heartbeats. How far can I go? Soon, my thoughts became faint. The smell. I smelled the scent flowing beneath the world tree. Sniffing. Even though I couldn't hear, my sense of smell, enhanced by the aura, caught the most trivial scents and the most vulgar smells. The inside of my nostrils turned green. The smell of animals, the scent of beasts. Not only humans hesitated on the large staircase and began to listen to my performance. The beasts did too. On the low branches of the world tree, owls, robins, jackdaws, birds with long ears like goblins, birds with thick lips like hippos, birds with atrophied forelimbs like dinosaurs, and birds whose nationality I didn't know so I could only call them by their appearance, stretched their necks and drooped. I was performing right below where their beaks were about to drop. The scent of life. Not only the beasts blinked and stared at my piano from the world tree. The flowers did too. Rhododendrons, hydrangeas, lycoris, mountain hydrangeas, hibiscus, cherry blossoms, pear blossoms, flowers with eyes full of frost, children who bloomed their finely trimmed nails as petals, those who clenched their fingers to tightly hold a handful of sky, beings that had color before they had names looked down at me. The scent of aura. So, this place was a paradise. Even a single petal that did not know how to hear had aura lingering on it. Who had given it as a gift? In the world of musical heaven, flowers knew how to drink rainwater as if they were born knowing how to listen to sounds through aura. Activate skill. Unknowingly, I used a skill. Salvation of a torn goddess. Salvation sword. A technique that temporarily amplifies my aura in exchange for losing my memories. I had resolved not to use this skill carelessly, but now it was activated unconsciously. However, I couldn't help it. More. Even I, who had reached the throne of constellations, lacked aura to sense all the children, passers-by, beasts, and flowers immersed in the shade of the world tree. I simply wanted the hearts of all those who listened to my performance. More. I missed the memory of the performance from 3 seconds ago, so I caught the next 3 seconds of the performance. Aura was, the more you abandon yourself, the more infinite it became. Activate skill. Even if I were born a performer who couldn't hear, a painter who couldn't see colors, a poet who didn't know what poetry was, I would surely have written songs that I couldn't hear, painted pictures that I couldn't see, and written poetry that I didn't know. That's how I would have lived. Good. Maybe that was, compared to someone who was given the sound from the beginning, who knew what harmony was and what music was, and just wrote down the song as they knew it, a less fortunate life. But that was the only way I knew how to live.
Yeah.
Good. And I liked being alive. Everyone is beautiful. If there was something I realized after throwing away my life more than 4,000 times, it was that I liked living. If it were a stone allowed only a life of breaking apart, I would have liked the breaking too, and if I were a flower that had to abandon the white nurtured from spring as winter comes, I would have loved the touch of shedding petals. The maestro singing the heavens opens its eyes. Blink. The maestro singing the heavens looks down at you. The wind stirred. It wasn't a wind that blew on its own. The branches gently wriggled, and countless leaves moved like feathers on wings. The world tree. When the tree that covered the sky of this place nodded slightly, a benevolent wind blew. The maestro singing the heavens listens to your sound. And then, I knew that the wind flowing through the tree rings was the heartbeat of that tree, and the rustling sound of the leaves colliding was the body temperature of the tree. The blooming flowers were the gaze of that tree. The maestro singing the heavens begins to sing along to your sound. Plunk. A flower whiter than the white keys of the piano fell onto it. Plunk, the petals fell from a far place. From somewhere up high. From the sky. The world tree shook its branches and dropped the flowers hanging from its fingertips. Plunk. With the speed of the sky blue and the gravity of green, the white flower fell, and as it fell, it pressed a key. Again, a flower fell. Each time a flower fell, it hit a key. It was a performance. As my body leaned to the left and I played from the left side of the piano, the flowers fell thickly on the right side. The world tree was accompanying with its flowers falling onto the piano keys. Petals scattered over the keys like raindrops. I moved my fingers. White mirrors bloomed with white flowers. Pressing the keys, I inadvertently crushed the flowers someone had already dropped there. It happened to be crushed. When I played the piano, fingerprints were left on the petals. Pressed between fingers and keys, the flowers were slightly crushed. Squashed. Smashed. Juice-like moisture flowed from the petals. Just a bit. A hint of scent, a very slight scent. The crushed fragrance must have been the tears of that tree. On the white keys, white petals, and a whitish scent flowed, and if you noticed, it was a pile of flowers in full bloom everywhere. Before someone pressed them, the petals didn't know how to release moisture, and even when spewing water, they released not a stench but a fragrance of whiteness. There was such a tree blooming in heaven. Beautiful. What was the person who first planted this tree here thinking? The child, passers-by, and beasts opened their mouths. Probably, they too sang along with the flowers. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear the world's chorus. It didn't matter. Really, it was of no concern. The maestro singing the heavens blesses you. Hidden stage cleared. In the midst of the falling pile of flowers. The maestro singing the heavens says you should not stay here long. You will be transported to the 70th floor. The maestro singing the heavens sees you off. May luck be with you. I opened my eyes. 5. The place I opened my eyes was the 70th floor lobby. Patricia silently looked at me. Patricia opened and then closed her lips, pondering what to say first. Finally, after a long pause, Patricia spoke. Kim Gongja. Yes. Aura is a despicable trick, so I don't acknowledge it. Why were you even pondering what to say first? It feels somewhat embarrassing to praise you. Should I bear the embarrassment to praise you? That would be your selfishness, arrogance, and conceit. I didn't say anything. Patricia sighed. There was no need to try that hard. Didn't I tell you? Even if you did nothing, I would willingly acknowledge your stage clear. In fact, when you disastrously messed up your first performance, I immediately granted you a clear. You really say some harsh things so casually, huh? Your last performance was. How should I put it? Patricia fell into thought and then slowly nodded. Until now, I thought it was good to live with a human like you. But, well, when I heard your last performance, I thought that dying together with you wouldn't be so bad. Isn't that an overwhelmingly more embarrassing thing to say? Your subtle emotions, I just can't comprehend them, my friend.
Yeah.
As a task of undoing the first button, it was excellent. While I hesitated, not knowing how to react, the Wand of Ages interjected. It was a splendid act, even in a field not your own. Congratulations on gaining your first follower after becoming a constellation. You are seeking a follower. The Crusader becomes your follower. You currently have no blessings to bestow upon your followers. You currently have no powers to grant to your followers. Messages came one after another, but it still didn't feel real. Blessings or powers? Perhaps after defeating up to the 79th floor, and once my position as a constellation solidifies, only then something might become possible. Even if it becomes possible, I have no intention of exercising divinity over Patricia, let alone wanting to be treated as a deity. Then, take care. Kim Gongja. Cheer up. Patricia's ankles were wrapped in white light. Her role as a judge ended, and she was about to return to the first floor. If you look closely, Patricia was wearing a bitter smile. I was told by this person. I won't remember anything about this incident. Memories are islands that each person possesses. It troubles me to leave you on a deserted island, but I believe you would swim across the sea at will and come and go as you please. Patricia. If you're planning to assassinate me, 17 plans won't be enough. Patricia looked taken aback. What happened next was as follows. In less than a second, Patricia realized she momentarily lost control over her expression. And for another split second, she pondered what to do next. It was only for a moment, but the deliberation was evident in her gaze. And she made her choice. Indeed. What Patricia chose was to leave her taken aback expression as it was. Are you disappointed? No. I knew you were that kind of person, what else? I just understand you a bit better now. I'm sorry. But I have seen people change. Witnessed it. Experienced it. The Sword Saint, the Black Dragon Witch, and many hunters from the past who are now dead. I simply cannot believe in someone who never changes their heart, forever. Therefore, just in case. Yes. I smiled. I understand what you meant by, I wouldn't mind dying together. It's an honor. Really? Patricia let out a hollow laugh. You're a creature without any cute qualities. You are. Splash. The ground beneath Patricia turned squishy and swallowed her up. She was teleported by a magician. In a space where cubic blocks like Rubik's cubes continuously rotated, only the magician and I were left. So, shall we move directly to the next stage? Or would you like some time to rest? I'm fine with either. Then let's move on right away. The thin wand tapped the white floor. Musical heaven was somewhat a battlefield that worked in your favor. Even though music wasn't your specialty, it wasn't like you had no aptitude for it at all. But what about this time? Where Patricia had disappeared, light burst forth. The next place you must go is the world of money. Beyond the dazzling pillar, the shadow of a person flickered. And the top expert related to money in your tower seems to be this child, after all. It was a face familiar to me, just like Patricia. The judge newly summoned to the 70th floor blinked. Oh. What is this situation? A hunter deeply connected to the recently disappeared Patricia. How curious. Can you tell me where this is, Death King? The Merchant Union's leader. Count. Chapter 344, Full Moon Voyage 1. 1. Indeed. After hearing the reason for her summoning, the Count nodded her head. In short, it all ends if I just say you passed, doesn't it? Simple. Easier than adding a slice of cheese to a hamburger. Why is your analogy a hamburger of all things? I'm on a diet right now. The Count showed a slightly despairing expression. She looked like a hamster that had just heard a Supreme Court ruling that it's illegal to nibble on sunflower seeds from now on. Having never dieted in my life, I found it hard to understand, but it seemed like a very tough day was unfolding for her. Why not just simply burn the fat with aura? That kind of nonsense is something only a crazy aura fanatic like you could do, Death King. Keep in mind not all hunters in the world can use aura as brilliantly as you do. What if I burn my insides while trying to burn fat? It's not that hard though. Enjoy your trickery alone. Now, anyway, I have no reason to oppose. You pass, you pass. Send me back to the first floor already. The Count spoke as if she was done with the matter. However, the Wand of Ages shook its head. Sorry, but things won't go that way. You have a duty to observe the Death King as a judge. If I had to pick the worst word I've ever heard, it would be duty. It's oddly like the responsibility is being shifted not by the one who exercised the power but to the one who was forced to accept it. The worst scammer is not a merchant like me but the language itself. You have a point. Then let me rephrase. Observe. You have no choice but to follow my power. Damn it. The Count took out a fan and flicked it through the air, tap, tap. Then, a miraculous thing happened. Out of thin air, poof. A luxurious sofa appeared and settled down. The eye living in the labyrinth informs you that this is the divine power of the commerce god. The eye living in the labyrinth says that if you have enough money, you can buy almost anything from the commerce god. The god of commerce, huh? Like Patricia's skills were derived from Hishmith crits, did the Count receive most of her skills from some unknown commerce god? Good. Very good. Being forced by someone feels so ecstatic that it even makes my life happier. I just want to fulfill my duties while my body is comfortable, but that wouldn't be a problem, right? That's your freedom. The Count leaned back on the sofa. SHRRR. As the Count unfolded her fan, in addition to the sofa, a soft pillow, a cat plushie, potato chips, wet wipes, and cola were summoned. Moreover, the potato chip bag was already open, and the cola came with a straw in it. The Count looked at me while crunching on the potato chips. What now? Go ahead and run the quest or something. I'll consider it like watching a movie. This is amazing. Can't you use that skill to diet? Would you believe me if I said the money for diet items could be used to buy hair treatment products instead? It seems like there's a serious error in pricing. My skill is like that. Sometimes the product prices go crazy. I once bought a product called World Peace for only 100 gold, and a message popped up saying the world was peaceful all along. By realizing this fact, you have become a slightly better person than yesterday. Wow. If I wasn't sufficiently rational, I would have torn up the skill card at that moment. It's clear the character of the commerce god is not right. By the way, just asking out of curiosity before sending you off. Yes? I heard the stage you will be in charge of is the 72nd floor. So, someone else was the judge for the 71st floor before me, right? Who was my predecessor? I replied without hesitation. It was Patricia. Who? The Count picked up a potato chip with the logo of a famous mustachioed man and crunch, bit into it. Ed Pringles. I see. The Count's face showed no particular change in expression. This is just out of curiosity as well. Just in case, you know. What happens if the judge does not stamp the pass? Right. What happens then, mage? You'll just wander in that stage forever. Simple. The Wand of Ages said. That's why many hunters give up on challenging further and settle for the previous floors. Honestly, you, Death King, are the odd one out for challenging the upper floors without any worries. The Count wiped her fingers, which were covered in snack crumbs, with a wet wipe. And the judge? I understand that the challenger would be stuck in the stage. But what about the judge who has to watch over it? They also have to stay here as long as the challenger is trapped in the stage. Even if decades pass? Yes. Even if decades pass. However, the flow of time is different for each. If a challenger has to endure 30 years as the full length of 30 years, a judge can use acceleration as much as they want. If a challenger is like a director making a movie, then a judge is a critic. A critic doesn't need to spend the same amount of time it takes to produce a movie just to watch it. So, they can only watch. I see. Got it. Crunch. I roughly understand the rules. As long as there are rules, there's a way. Did you say the world I'm going to is related to money? Yes. Then it's settled. Go forth with ease. If you find a part-time job and earn a wage. No, even a weekly wage, the results will soon show. The Count's words were not false, I naturally felt that way. The Wand of Ages is transporting you. The white ground squelched as it swallowed my feet. Until the altitude of my gaze matched the level of the ground, the Count stared blankly at my face. A soft curve formed on the Count's lips. You are a good friend, Death King. That was the last thing the Count said. 2. You have entered the 72nd stage. You set foot in a place you were originally not supposed to enter. A certain penalty is given. I opened my eyes. The place could be typically envisioned as a Mediterranean seaside village, the kind of village companies would prefer as a computer boot screen. Blue and white. A port of blue and white, as if colors forming the sky were drawn out with a dropper and then planted right onto the ground. Truly peaceful. Selling orange apples. Fresh and crisp orange apples. Try the sweet potato wine brought in from distant Basta Island. Have you heard of Dodiak pig barbecue? It's incredibly delicious. Okay. There, merely looking at it shaved off one's sanity, invoking an urge to immediately grab and slit open its belly, tearing out its entrails, was the grilled form of a monster that looked so wicked it made one wonder how it could possibly appear so vile. This world won't do. Let's escape. You have not cleared the stage. You cannot voluntarily leave this stage. Damn it. Snake, quickly explain what this situation is all about. Keek. The snake gently swayed its tail. The eye living in the labyrinth manifests its power. General information about this stage is revealed to you. Amidst the bustling noise of street vendors in the port city, letters fluttered before my eyes. Hoping for an explanation of the unidentified food items laid out on the street stalls, I read the information with quite a desperate heart. Plus. Gold Heaven World. Floor, 72nd. Constellation, the cat that bit a gold coin. Difficulty, B+A+. Explanation, LV.1 This is a world where everything revolves around bargaining. There are no freebies here. There is no such thing as a fixed price. If you want to purchase something, you must bargain with the seller, and the satisfaction you feel from this bargaining sustains you. The nutrients consumed by the residents of this world are satisfaction derived from transactions. The fulfillment of having successfully bargained, having sucked the life out of someone's back, or having given a sucker an experience of a lifetime fattens them. Conversely, feelings of being duped, tricked, or stabbed in the back will leave you famished. There is no such thing as a fixed price. It's the fault of the one who is fooled. Think of it as everything being made through bargaining. Plus. What is this? Hell? Why is there a living hell instead of heaven? Try the orange apples. They're orange apples. Just one bite, and the juice will burst onto your palate, sticking forever. The essence of wine lies in the sweetness that lingers on the tip of your tongue. For you, sweet potato grape wine offers the perfect experience. Hey, sir. Drink it at ease. No, drink. Dodiok pig. Definitely, Dodiok pig. Upon closer inspection, the street vendor's eyes were bloodshot. They had the ferocity of soldiers who had fled from battle and starved for 2 days, seeing nothing. Scary. The eye living in the labyrinth manifests its power. Exposure. You have not met the conditions to acquire hidden information. The eye living in the labyrinth forcibly satisfies the conditions. Hidden information is revealed. But fear stems from ignorance. Hishmith crits quickly updated the information, and secrets that a normal hunter could never access were revealed right from the start. Plus. Gold Heaven World. Floor, 72nd. Constellation, the cat that bit a gold coin. Difficulty, B+A. Explanation, LV.2 This is one of the afterlives prepared in the tower. Explanation, LV.3 Gold Heaven. For those who do not want to believe there is anything in this world besides money, for those who fear that if there were, their entire life would be invalidated, for those who hope their life is not invalidated to the extent they wish to buy their place in the afterlife with money. Even for them, heaven is granted. Here, they need not ponder about the world. Everything is clear. You do not need to become a cold human being to deny morals. There is no reason to be criticized for refusing to understand others. As they wished, as they desired, only transactions exist here. Like all heavens, Gold Heaven welcomes you. Do not agonize. Do not worry. Die as you have lived. You have the right to do so. You will trade to be satisfied. All you need to worry about is your daily bread. You may tire of the daily grind, but if there's no other world beyond the wheel, then there's no reason to tire at all. May eternal labor comfort your soul. Plus. For a moment, a chill ran down my neck. A place that is heaven for some is hell for others. But this place is the opposite. It was not surprising that there were people who considered this place heaven. Not at all. The reason I felt chilled was the fact that a realm of the afterlife had been created for those who consider such a place heaven. Tower Master. Determined not to lose even a single soul. Such a nearly cursed determination was what I felt. What kind of heavens have been built on the remaining 7 floors? No. Focus. I shook my head to clear the distracting thoughts. Right now, it's important to receive the Count's pass stamp. Yes. That's the immediate task. I refreshed my mood. The condition set by the Count was to earn money, whether through part-time work or otherwise. The type of job didn't matter. Hey, you. It was when I was about to start looking for work. Among the street vendors, someone who had just spread out a mat called out to me. It was a message carried by aura, and the voice was so precisely targeted at my ears that there was no mistaking who it was intended for. Yes? Judging by your appearance, you're a challenger, aren't you? I'm right, aren't I? Your eyes are too bright, not like those of a soul that has forgotten its past life. The person was hiding their face with a hood. Before I could even respond, the hooded man said with a somewhat breathless voice. How about it? I'm a challenger just like you. Would you buy advice from a senior who fell into this damned world 300 years before you, for a small amount of money?